Venus, Saturn, and Mercury are currently conjunct in Pisces. Let's talk about it. This one is an interesting conjunction. So, Venus is the planet of love, sex, relationships, harmony, symmetry, appreciation, contentment, joy, and values, things that we like, things that we enjoy. It can be superficial and indecisive and a yes man, yes woman. Venus is a feminine planet. Mercury is a planet of analysis, communication, thoughts, thought processing, data, numbers, graphs, charts, interpretation, layers of interpretation are the apparatus of our perception, how we perceive things, if we perceive them on just um, on one level or many. We get into hermeneutics with the planet Mercury, which Hermes Trismegistus was attributed to be from or be ruled by. He was a mercurial messenger. All messengers are mercurial because Mercury rules messages. Messages from higher up or the divine coming down to the physical realm to be communicated. But those layers of communication can start with like a literal meaning, and then they can have a moral, metaphysical, spiritual, all those kinds of layers of interpretation. That's why scriptures and holy texts can be interpreted many ways because of hermeneutics. And then Mercury can be really anxious because it has thoughts coming in from all angles all the time. It can get stuck in these thought loops. It can have magpie mind, where it's not able to focus on one thing for long before moving on to the next one. Shiny object syndrome is another way to look at that. Saturn is patience, maturity, responsibility, discipline, constriction, restriction, oppression, repression, focus, concentration, and meditation. It is obstacles and hardship and suffering. It is endings and death. It is time and karma, cause and effect. So, when all of these planets come together, I feel like we are looking at endings of deliberations and like data and analyses from with like relationships. We might be, and that's textbook, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean like you're breaking up with your significant other, just the parameters of relationships changing. But yes, it could very well mean breakups. Parameters changing around bureaucracy. All of these planets have to do with like, they're very political planets. Venus and Saturn are very diplomatic, and they like to be objective judges and gather all the evidence and data before they make a decision. So there could be bureaucratic deliberation, obstacles with these sorts of deliberations. The man, the government, those in power kind of putting the boot down and using all these fancy numbers and charts and graphs to do so, while the common person may not know exactly what they're talking about. So it might be useful and prudent. That's another Saturn thing, prudence. It might be prudent to brush up on this knowledge and take it in and understand it and analyze it. Mercury and Saturn are friends, according to Vedius Valens, 2nd century astrologer. Super cool dude. I love that saying because yeah, they're very similar. Mercury is like a more playful, jocular, um, chaotic Saturn, and yeah, they. Whereas Saturn is about like death, Mercury is very into deconstructing things and taking them apart and picking them apart. So we might feel picked apart during this transit, especially because Mercury is in its exile and fall, but Venus is in her exaltation. All this is taking place in Pisces. Pisces is there's feelings that might just be hard to articulate. We can't use it. I mean, we can try, but it's very often difficult to use corporeal language to describe incorporeal sensations and feelings. But they're real nonetheless. And subjectivity and objectivity will come into play here. And just remember on either side, whatever is subjective to some person, to a person, is real to them. What they feel is real, and just because we can't see it or measure it or quantize it or quantify it doesn't mean that that it's not a real thing. So take all that into consideration with the emotional ocean of Pisces, the emotional soup. What else is coming to me? Oh, talking about relationships, really laying out the parts that make them up and understanding them. So hopefully we can reinforce them and build them back anew. Saturn is the god of thresholds, reflecting on the past while simultaneously stepping into a new paradigm. He's very reflective, very introspective in that way. And before we step into a new paradigm, we are probably going to be asked to look at our values very closely. We're going to be asked to maybe reframe them. Like I said earlier, the parameters will be changing. And what once felt like a safe container and a solid, stable structure might not be working anymore. It might have to be done away with. And that is death. But remember, things don't actually truly die. They just change form. They change shape, and they take on a new garment. Our love, our capacity for love, can't change. I mean, I guess it can, but like, the love is still there, regardless of what kind of relationship we're in. Our capacity for love is still there. And yeah, I just really recommend patient, deliberate analysis, looking at all sides of a situation before we make a decision, and remembering to really look at our own mind, our own apparatus of perception. And in doing so, I do feel that we'll be able to step into a new way of being and a new way of life.